I'll talk a lot about how you can reach your weight loss goals, and we talk a lot about the permanent weight loss pyramid and about the four basic tenets, the mindset, nutrition, sleep, and fitness aspects are required in order to reach your permanent weight loss goals. But a lot of people then, once they reach their short-term goals, right? Let's say they want to lose 50 pounds, X number of inches, all that good stuff. They're looking and feeling better, and they're there. Often, this is a very difficult period for a lot of people. There are a lot of different studies on this, and up until the late 1990s, there was this theory that 95% of people who do reach their weight loss goals gain all the way back inside of 5 years. It's not necessarily that high, but it is pretty significantly high, and it varies based upon how you went about losing the weight. A lot of people who have done Weight Watchers, let's say only 8% of folks who have lost weight on Weight Watchers and reached their goals on Weight Watchers have actually sustained those results and not gained the weight back inside of 5 years. For folks like myself who have lost triple digits, who have lost 100 pounds or more, anywhere from 12 to 14% of those people only seem to keep the weight off. So obviously, that's a huge percentage, anywhere from 86 to 88% of folks who do lose 100 pounds or more gain the weight back inside of 5 years. And there are various studies, again, in different diets, fitness methodologies, and whatnot going on and on and on about these things. And obviously, the biggest component of this is a certain mindset shift, which I'm going to get into a second. My name is Pete Weintraub. I'm a permanent weight loss specialist. You're watching this live here on my YouTube channel, and you can listen to my podcast at any time on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. It's called the Weight Loss by Pete podcast. So anyway, getting back. So what prompted this in my mind was earlier today, I had a prospective client call from a woman in my area. And right before the end of the call, she had told me that about 12 years ago, she was in the best shape of her life. She was looking and feeling better than she ever had. And almost immediately, when she just stopped doing what she'd been doing in terms of exercising regularly, eating right, she said sleep has never been an issue for her, which is very rare, especially in the Western world. And she just literally went on a steep slope downhill after that. And this is very common. And I keep in touch with all of my clients, even former clients who have been success stories. And there are certain ones who, yes, they've kept the weight off. And not only are they continuing to do right by themselves, but their parents are doing right by their kids and by their spouses and by whoever is close to them in their lives, which is awesome. But there are also some that I check in with that have not sustained the success that they saw on the program, and they'll go back to the same excuses that landed them in the position in the first place. Parenthood is hard, work is hard and stressful, I don't have a lot of time. I understand all that, but again, there's this constant yo-yoing, it seems. And today, the key to success in this forum is not necessarily losing the weight. Millions of people every year lose weight, and a substantial amount of weight at that. But like I pointed out earlier, depending on how they went about it and who you ask, a very small percentage of them actually keep it off 5 years later. If you were checking with them 5 years later, where they look and feel just as good then as they did when they initially reached their goals. And the reason is because everyone looks at things even short term. You can look into the future, but short term, if it's a 6 to 12-month process to lose the weight and to improve your health, yeah, you will develop these habits in that time. Again, 66 days to form a habit, according to scientific studies. So a little over 2 months in, and you're good, or at least you would think so. But the problem is when people reach goals, when people see success, I don't know what it is. I think this is just a human thing, but and this happens to me in different areas of my life too. We tend to want to celebrate. We tend to want to be like, yes, I accomplished it. Let's go out. Let's eat some shitty food. Let's drink some shitty beer. Let's go balls to the wall and live like there's no tomorrow. And unfortunately, that becomes a habit a little too often. The weight starts to creep back up, and you start to kind of revert back to where you were prior to reaching the goal. I mean, this is something that I've dealt with, and I've come clean about this here on my channel and on my podcast. When I lost 100 pounds, I was looking and feeling better than I ever had been. I was really on top of and on point with my nutrition. I was exercising 5, 6 days a week like clockwork. There was nothing getting in the way. That was my time. I was literally going to bed unless there was an emergency or something. I was going to bed 30 minutes before I wanted to. And I was not just aiming for 7.5 hours, but 9 hours of sleep each night. Like I was really, really on point. And then when you look at my before and after pictures, the after picture on my website, on my Facebook page, wherever, that was me at that point. And I was just really, really locked in. And I went away on vacation shortly after that. And the first half of the trip, it was about a 10-day trip. The first half of the trip, I was really on point still with my nutrition and everything. I brought all the right types of food, even the right types of booze. I didn't go crazy with anything. I stayed on my discipline. But of course, then I let something in. I had an ice cream cone, I remember one night, or was it a milkshake? It was some form of ice cream. And the next day, had it again. Then I bought some beer for me and my girlfriend. Then we ordered a pizza pie and we split it and blah, 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 blah. Like it added up. And then for the next few months, I was off track and I gained 20 pounds back. It wasn't muscle or anything. It was not good weight. I wasn't exercising all that regularly. The only times I was exercising was when I was playing softball a couple of times a week. And I kind of, no one really noticed, thankfully. Like I was lean enough where putting on 20 pounds wasn't really all that noticeable. Like I still was pretty low body fat and everything, but I definitely had undone some of the progress that I'd made. And I had to have a talk with myself and essentially look myself in the mirror and be like, look, you do this for a living. No one has noticed, or at least no one has called you out on it yet, but you need to get this under wraps now. And the holidays were coming up. It was Thanksgiving, then, Christmas time and all that, New Year's. So obviously not an easy time for food. So I knew I needed to get my act together, and I did. And I wasn't and haven't been as locked in since then as I was during that time. But I found that I don't have to be. And the reason was at that point, I was a perfectionist. And I talked about this with you a little bit yesterday. If you're a perfectionist, one mistake can completely derail all the positive changes you've made. Literally all the positive changes you made. If you have one cookie, one slice of pizza, one beer, one ice cream, whatever, that can completely derail you because you feel like you failed. And at that point, it's like, fuck it. I'm just going to throw in the towel. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to fly off the rails for a little bit and lick my wounds. It's stupid to do that. If you're scheduled, and I tell my clients, schedule days and times that you are going to exercise. We start off with 4 days a week if they're really deconditioned, and then 5 and 6 and so on. They want to do something every day. It doesn't always have to be intense and crazy, but they want to do something every day and something that aligns with their interests and that will change things up enough to keep them motivated. And when people skip that and they're perfectionists, guess what happens? They'll fall off the wagon. They'll forego the rest of the week. Oh, I'm just going to start over again on Monday. Not a good idea, because when Monday comes, they'll find another excuse and then the spiral continues. The same holds with sleep. Sleep, for me, at least with the permanent weight loss pyramid, is the hardest thing to come by. But again, you got to prioritize it and be as consistent with that as you possibly can. So getting back, when you reach your goal, and a lot of people, when they're on that journey, they're locked in because they know even if it's 6 to 12 months or even a little longer, it's short term. In the grand scheme of their entire life, the decades and decades that they lived, this year or less or a little more is not really a very long period of time. Anyone can do anything for that long period of time. A lot of people will take a job that they won't necessarily like, that doesn't pay them as well as they like, for a year in the hopes that maybe it can be a stepping stone to either move up the ladder in that particular organization or industry, or they can use it as a negotiating platform elsewhere. Whatever the case may be, anyone can do anything for a year or roundabouts that amount of time. The problem is, once you reach your goal, so you sit out and you reach your goal, then what happens? Then where's the motivation coming from? Where's the discipline coming from? Why are you continuing to do this? And it comes back to your why. Your why can't be vanity based. And even if it's not, let's say you went to the doctor, you had your annual checkup, and he or she tells you that your bloods are no good, that you're very overweight, that you have, they want to see you again in 3 months. And if you haven't lost X amount of weight and your bloods aren't Y% better, then they're going to put you on a statin or a blood thinner or whatever, a cholesterol lowering drug, whatever. And you're going to start compiling that cocktail medications that a lot of people like to, or they don't like to have, but that a lot of people have. Sometimes it's a parent who's gained a lot of weight since getting married and then having children, and they've neglected themselves in exchange for their kids, but now they're finding that it's getting harder and harder to keep up with their kids because they've neglected their health, they've neglected their weight, they're out of shape, and they want to be there for their kids. So that's their motivation. They'll shape up, they'll get there, they'll reach their goal, but then what? And then, unfortunately, because of this yo-yo process, it doesn't just happen overnight. Very rarely will you gain a ton of weight back in a short period of time, unless you go balls to the wall off the rails, right? It'll take a year or two to revert back to where you were before you're like, I need to make a change again, or else again, I can't keep up with my kids, or else again, my doctor's threatening to put me on these medications, and then you work your way back. And that's not healthy for you either. That'll damage your vital organs, that can damage your heart, that can damage your gut microbiome, which is pivotal to your health. You don't want to put your body through that, not to mention extra skin, stretch marks, and all that. You don't want to have to deal with that. So you want to do this once, and you want to do it right. So you got to have a mindset change. Yes, have a short-term goal. How many pounds do you want to lose? How many inches in your clothing do you want to lose? What percent body fat do you want to get down to? Are there any athletic or exercise-related endeavors? Do you want to run a half marathon or a marathon? Do you want to play recreational softball like me, or soccer or basketball or football? And you want to be able to actually compete with these people like you used to be able to when you were last in shape. Whatever the case may be, set these goals and have your why in mind and make those short term. But when you get to the short term, you need a long-term strategy. You need to stay on point. How do you maintain motivation? You need to have long-term whys. Sometimes those are going to change in time, because depending on how long it takes you to get from point A to point B, things in life may change. Your kids may have grown older. Now they're more independent, and they can drive themselves or get rides, and they don't need you to run after them and pick them up and do all that crazy stuff that you had to do when they were younger. Perhaps, with your doctor, maybe there are certain advanced treatments that are out there now where instead of having you on a prescription, you just have this procedure done or whatever, this treatment done, and you should be good for a certain or relatively long period of time. Whatever the case may be, you don't want to be dependent on that either. You want to be functional. You want to be mobile. You want to be healthy. You want to be vibrant. You don't want to be someone who's dependent on doctors. You don't want to be someone who's dependent on others to help you live your best life. So I'm rereading actually. This is the third time I think I've been through it, because it's a fascinating book. There's a guy, Jordan Peterson, who's wrote a book. I'm actually going to include the link to his book on Amazon in the description below as well. And it's called The 12 Rules for Life. He's a Canadian psychologist. He's been in and out of the news for political reasons. I won't get into that, but the 12 Rules for Life. And one of the chapters, he uses the example, why if you have a pet or you have a kid, whatever the case may be, I'm, a fur parent or whatever you want to call it. I don't have my own human children yet, but I have a rabbit. We actually have to take to the vet in a few minutes, so I got to cut this a little short. And I also have a dog. But moral of the story, if they are ever sick and they need to be taken care of, I once drove through a blizzard for 90 minutes to take my dog to a vet that I trusted. Like, I wouldn't just take my dog to any vet. He was, I'm not going to go into what he was doing. Let's just say he was going to the bathroom a little, way too much, not in a healthy way. He was throwing up and diuretic and everything. And I drove him 90 minutes to a vet in a blizzard because I wanted to make sure he was okay, because I didn't know what damage or anything the blizzard would entail, and I didn't want to miss out on having my dog be treated. Meanwhile, the same context, if I was in that position and my girlfriend was like, let's go to the hospital, the doctor, or whatever, and even if she was willing to do that, I would probably say, no, it's okay. Let's wait till the blizzard's over. Let's see if I feel better. And a lot of us are like that, right? We'll put everyone and everything before ourselves. And Dr. Peterson asked a great question. Why do people treat their pets better than they treat themselves? And he goes into this whole biblical thing, with the story of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and everything. If you're familiar with the Bible, sure you know the story, the basic tenets of the story. But basically, um, we feel like we're not worthy for whatever the reason, and I don't really know why. I'm still rereading the chapter to see if I can pick up some nuggets out of it. But a lot of people don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they're worth the investment of time, money, and energy in helping to get better. But you have to think too. You see life through your eyes. You may have certain motivations. You may have children that motivate you and a spouse that motivates you. You may even love your occupation, what you do for a living, and all that good stuff. And that's important, sure. But if you don't take care of yourself, then all the money in the world, all the love that you can provide, ultimately everything's going to come back to you. You're going to spend all that money on medical treatments that could have been avoided. Your children, your spouse, whoever, they're going to have to take care of you, not the other way around eventually, which is not something anybody is fond of doing. I've seen it firsthand with older relatives of mine throughout my life. They do not being immobile. They do not having no functionality and no independence. And they live their final years miserable because of that. And it's a terrible state as a human to be in. So to look at it this way, you have this insane gift and blessing. Yeah, you may be overweight. You may even have some health issues. Sure, that's fine. But you know what? Once you take care of those and you reach your initial goals and those health issues begin to alleviate, you don't want those to come back. So you need to find healthy, sustainable ways to keep them off and to get there in general. You don't want to crash diet and go through some crazy exercise program to come down really fast in your weight and your bloods and then not know where to go from there. That's what a lot of people do. That's why a lot of people fail. Do it the right way the first time. It may take a little longer. It took me 5-6 years. And granted, I didn't know even half what I knew now back when I started my journey. But do it the right way. Lose weight gradually. From a vanity perspective, your exercise and stretch marks of the world, those won't really be too big of an issue if you lose weight at a slow, gradual pace. Also, as your fitness slowly improves, as your flexibility and your strength slowly improve, you're going to find day-to-day life is gradually getting easier. And by the time you reach your goal, you're never going to want to go back to that person you were, 1, 2, 3 years ago, however long it took you to reach your goal. Go about it the right way. 4 tenets, right? You need that proper motivation. Keep those things in. And whatever those motivations are, whether it's children, whether it's you don't want to go on medication, you want to be there and still remain attractive, whatever, to your spouse, whatever the case may be. I don't know what your motivation is. Those are all secondary. Your number one has to be you got to do it for you. You're worthy. I'm worthy. You're worthy. We're all worthy of living a healthy, happy life. The only way that you can go about doing that is if you take care of yourself and you make sure that, yes, once you right the ship and you lose the weight and you're back on a healthy path, you're not going back. You're going to do everything in your power to stay there. Yes, it's going to be a little more liberal with your food and with how often you exercise and everything. Yeah, a little bit, but you still want to make sure that those same tenets that got you there stay there. So eat a good whole food based diet. Meats, non-starchy vegetables, raw nuts and seeds, low glycemic fruit, half a cup or less of non-grain based starch, no added sugar. That's nutrition. Sleep 7.5 or 9 hours a night. Pick one. Be in bed half an hour before then. Make sure you're not staring at your phone or a tablet or a TV or a computer before you go to bed. Have all those electronic devices away from the bed so you're not tempted. Even if you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you're not tempted. Those are either in another room or they're being used as an alarm clock on the other side of the room, so that prompts you to get up, actually go turn them off. And at that point, you're up, you're ready to go. Fitness-wise, like I said earlier, pick some things that work well for you. You don't have to go into an iron dungeon and join a gym if you don't want to. 67% of gym members do not actually use their memberships at all. So that's 67% of gym memberships. So it's a great recurring revenue business if you think about it. If close to 70% of the people paying you that membership fee month to month to month never show up. And obviously there are going to be regulars at the gym, like 30 to 33% of gym goers, but still an extraordinarily high number do not use their gym memberships. If a gym doesn't resonate with you, if body split routines from bodybuilding.com and all these other things are boring, then go about it a different way. If you like hiking, do more of that. If you like swimming, do more of that. If you like biking, do more of that. If you like playing rec sports, do more of that. If you do like going to the gym, then there's no problem with it. But a lot of people don't like it. I wouldn't be saying that not just from personal experience. And I was a gym rat for 10 years. And I only went because I thought that was the best and only way to exercise. If it's wintry and you don't have literally any space in where you live, that's one thing. Otherwise, if you could take advantage of the weather, spring is right around the corner, summer's coming up, then that's a lot better. And lastly, that's all you need to do. That's what you need to do. You need to do it now while you're losing the weight to reach your goals, and you need to do it after you reach your goals to sustain. Luckily, the body knows. Your body will know. It's not, you're not going to keep losing and losing and losing and losing weight and turn into a skeleton and look like a corpse. Your body knows where it wants to be. When you reach that ideal point, it may be before your perceived weight loss goal. It may be a little further than your perceived weight loss goal. Wherever that is, you're going to stay there if you keep doing these things on a consistent basis. I promise you, you're going to be very well off. I hope you found this helpful. So do me a favor, guys. If you like this video, if you like this podcast, please subscribe to the channel and leave a review. I'd love to hear your feedback and, good, bad, and different. I love to hear what you're thinking. I do this for you. So please leave a review. That really helps a lot. Also, I want to gift you with a free report. It details the 5 strategies that I personally used to lose 100 pounds and keep them off. And these are the same 5 strategies that I teach my permanent weight loss clients. So just download it. It's free. That link is in the description below. There's a video up above here that goes into a little more detail of what it entails. But there are free strategies that you can implement today that will get you well on your way to reaching your goals. And the cool thing is, just like I was just talking about, they're the same strategies you use to lose the weight and keep it off. So you don't have to change anything. You literally don't change anything. You make that way of eating and sleeping and working out a way of life, and you just keep it going even after you reach your goals. And you'll be very, very, very happy with the results. I also, like I said earlier, Dr. Peterson's book, the description, the link to that on Amazon is in the description below. It's a fascinating read. I highly recommend it. And it can help get your mind right around certain things, especially that chapter. I forget the name of the chapter, but he talks about how people are willing to do anything and everything for their pets, like giving them medicine, getting them treatments, paying exorbitant fees to keep them healthy and alive, and yet they're not willing to do the same for themselves. And why is that? It's a fascinating book. I'm rereading it, like I said. I highly recommend it, so check that out as well. I hope you guys love this. This is Pete Weintraub, Permanent Weight Loss Specialist. I'm signing off. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We're coming live from the Permanent Weight Loss community on Facebook. So if you're watching this on YouTube Live, you're going to get a replay tomorrow, and we're going to answer their questions. Anyway, have a great rest of the day, guys. Talk to you soon.